Okay, dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. And yes, you read the title right. It seems that all three developers from all three 7-night servers are the same guy, and we basically have a situation like this. This was created by one of my Discord members, Rifki. It's completely apt. Now, you may be thinking, how did this whole thing come about, and how, did I even post about it? So it was thanks to Philip, our fellow player who plays KR more. He tipped me off on this. He linked me to this post basically. So if you read this post, it says, "Spike, please respect our cute Kagura." I'm not sure why in this case they asked that this Korea player said Kagura when the image is obviously Karin. But in any case, if you scroll down, it says, "I love Kagura." Okay, fine. And if you scroll down and read the comments, Dev Spike actually replies saying, "Although I'm active as Dev Kagura in global build." Yeah, he just literally said that without any hiding or anything. Yeah. So, with regards to this comment, another player posted, "Is the current Sina operated?" Sina meaning 7 nights, okay? Dev Kagura, because he said this in the other post, right? So, if you scroll on further down, Dev Kagura said this: "In fact, I am in charge of Japanese Dev Rudy in addition to global Dev Kagura. That is why I'm working harder to avoid giving the impression of being neglected, okay, compared to previous CMs." Here. So people do believe it. Okay, there's no any doubt for this. He seems to be really in charge of 3 servers, and it's really huge for global server players, right? New world server players. I mean, over these past 2 months, 3 months, we have given him so much crap to deal with. I have given him so much crap to deal with, and it doesn't seem that he's as responsive as he is. Unlike being on the Korea forums, there's a very large disparity in terms of behavior, and it still feels like it's a completely different person. But here he says that he is actually the same guy. So it's very mind-boggling and extremely confusing to me, and also for players who who saw Dev Spike as really someone better before Dev Kagura took over. Turns out that it is probably the same person. Now you may be thinking, is this Dev Spike even the same Dev Spike as ours? Because who knows, it could be different person. It could be 2 different people by using the same name. But before we talk about that, I just want to show you guys that this current Dev Spike, and who is also our supposed Dev Kagura, is doing an amazing job in the Korea server. I mean, they even labeled him as this, literally the light of Korea server. You know how big that sounds? Okay, this player says that he's a new CM for 1.5 months. I remember that you have been around, but as soon as you came, you have been very busy preparing for the 7th anniversary event, and I'm so impressed that you are communicating with users like this. I didn't really care about the game after doing basic things, but it's really nice to see Spike working while communicating with cafe users so passionately, and I regretted myself who neglected the game, And I'm sorry to cafe users for posting this post. I want to convey this to Spike, so I ask for your patience, ask for your understanding as well, blah blah blah. Thank you so much and all that. So it's really, really well received, and even from what I heard from Philip, he has been putting in so much quality of life updates that it's almost like the old Dev Spike that we had. Okay, and moving on, the comments all seem to agree that he is really, really someone very respectable, doing a lot for the Korea community, and that's really good. And he's been posting and replying to fans of the game almost every day, and to the point, yeah, he reviewed himself. There's another post here. It seems to show some downward statistics. I'm not too sure what exactly it is. Maybe forum users, maybe game users, not too sure. But here he says, "Spike, don't be shaken mentally by these. Don't get hurt, do your best. Of course, it is correct to save the game, but most of all, users think that communication is important. Don't lose your mind like you are now, and show your communication with users, and don't forget there are more users who always support Spike. You can feel the love that Korea players have for him now. Okay, in just 1.5 months, I think when Dev Kagura started with global server, I think we all felt the same. Yeah, we somehow felt that things are getting a little interesting. Now I hope that, of course, for Dev Spike, Dev Kagura, whoever this person is now, Dev everyone, okay, I really hope he keeps up his efforts in the Korea server, because I think that's still their main player base. Now, not to say that he can throw us under the bus as New World players, because I think New World also contributes a lot to the franchise, and New World's player base is also pretty big, even though it has definitely declined over the past few years and months. But I do have to say that it's still pretty substantial, right? And they still are pushing for further franchise expansions, like with the 7 Nights Revolution, 7 Nights 2. I'm pretty sure they will want to see those enter the New World market, global market, to get more revenue. So it to me, it's very lame and very dumb if they do, make this current 7 Nights game worse than it can already be, So I really don't understand what is this huge disparity and difference he is doing with managing the Korea server and the newer server. Now I understand that Korea server is having their 7th anniversary literally this week, okay? And it's a huge monument for a gacha game, huge monument for a game like 7 Nights. So I'm still trying to stay positive in that, I really hope that once everything in the Korea server has settled down a fair bit, he can actually focus on giving New World the content that we deserve, that we should be getting. And now that he only joined Korea, he only joined Korea server about 1.5 months from so far. So I hope that he takes things from the Korea server and brings it over to us, so that there is a more homogeneous gameplay, and I think it makes life easier for him, to be honest. Like, I don't feel the need that you have to create 3 entirely different games and not have good control over any, you know what I mean? So I really hope he does take this opportunity to, maybe create some similarities among the 3 games. I think that will also help the community as well, if players want to try out the different servers. Now, it brings me back to this developer's notes, okay? When he first came over to global version, this was his developer notes. He says that Dev Spike is sorry for being unable to send a proper farewell, but wanted me to tell you thank you for supporting him during his tenure. As I take over the position and look ahead for 2020, I believe it is safe to say that many of you have feelings of dissatisfaction with the state of the game. In fact, we still currently do, in case you have not realized. Now the thing is, he doesn't interact much. In fact, none of the developers have interacted much with players on the actual forum itself. So that is very concerning, and it's again a very huge difference from the way he's behaving on the Korea side. And you may think that this Dev Kagura is not the same as this Dev Spike, but this Dev Kagura is the same as the Dev Spike that Korea has now. I think this may be very confusing to think about, but just process it. Okay, I'm just saying that this Dev Spike may not. You may think that he isn't the same person as this Dev Kagura, which makes sense to us, because the way our Dev Kagura does things is extremely different from what Dev Spike did in the past, right? So you may think that they are 2 different people. Then I bring your attention to this developer's notes when Dev Spike took over in the Korea server. He said, "This is CM Spike." Okay, over there they call them CM, which is community managers. "I am in charge of a project called 7 Nights running toward the 7th anniversary. And here, for reference, I was in charge of another version of 7 Nights, so I always watched only from the side." So it's pretty obvious that he is actually the same Dev Spike that used to run global server, probably. Yeah, and yeah, it's still very hard to think about everything, because there's too much difference really. There's just too many differences in the way they do things, in the way they handle things, in the way they talk to players. So I cannot draw that conclusion that they are still the same person. It's crazy. Maybe, there are a few things that I thought about. Maybe because for Dev Spike, he is more fluent in Korean, so he probably is able to communicate with players better there. Okay, that's one reason. Another thing is, as we know for a very long time, the global team handling Seven Knights is probably very likely based in Thailand. As we know, COVID happened, and I'm wondering if COVID does actually affect the operations and the planning, because if Dev Spike is actually the one also running Korea server and New World server, then I'm pretty sure he has to be based somewhere. And if he can't be based in one of either place, that is going to affect some operations as well, because imagine you not being able to see your leader for almost many months, and you can only communicate via Zoom or all those internet basically cyber meetings, right? I think it will be pretty inconvenient, and I know it's not an excuse, that there's always a way to find out things, there's always a way to implement certain things, but maybe it does affect some way, maybe mentally in a way. Yeah, so I'm not too sure how the Thai team is running things if Dev Kagura or Dev Spike, whoever this one is not there with them. Okay, that's one thing I thought of. So yeah, it's still very shocking, I would say. I think a lot of people are pretty affected. They were like, oh my god, what is happening? Nowhere is safe now. Yeah, and hopefully we see better things in the upcoming months after the Korea 7th anniversary has been dealt with, and hopefully he will be able to communicate with us even better from there on. And to be honest, I have this WhatsApp chat that I have with my friend Sherman since July 2020. Now he said this, it's the same guy, by the way. I confirmed it with a friend who works there. So, because actually back then he already told me that Dev Spike and Dev Kagura is the same person. And it was very hard for me to completely believe. Like, I do understand that there may be a possibility that it's the same person, but just a name change because of publicity and marketing, or just PR. But the way they do things are really just so different that it's also very difficult to believe that they are the same person. So yeah, all this together just makes this situation very confusing. So let me know what you guys think of this situation, and I really want to know your thoughts, because it's so interesting that we now have the same developer for all three servers in fact. And will we be able to get things from the Korea server implemented here as well? And hopefully, there will be some pretty nice changes to global server to bring back the player base, hopefully. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And big shout out to my channel members, ZMD Phoenix, and Isidahi and Reggie Bautista for the support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much and see you.